Sales Sheros. Sales Sheros. Sales Sheros. Sales Sheros.
Hey, welcome to the SalesSheros podcast, where we champion women in sales. Join us as we dive into the dynamic realm of sales, uncovering insights, strategies, and stories from top performers, industry experts, and rising stars. Whether you're a seasoned sales pro or just starting out your journey, get ready to be inspired, empowered, and equipped with the knowledge and tools to unleash your inner sales hero. So I'm your host, Angie Gonzalez, together with my co-host, LaDonna Hale, and together we're here to conquer the world of sales. LaDonna, how are you today?
Angie, I'm so good. It's so nice to see your face. I love that we get to do this together. At least once a week, we're like on here with each other. I love it.
I know. I love it. I love it. It's like a purposeful time for us to connect. It's so exciting. Although we had to plan a podcast to be able to have quality time together. So that's cool. I'll take it. I am so excited for today. There has been so much going on, LaDonna. I don't know about your world, but I feel like we just need to kind of like chat around the water cooler on this episode. Are you game?
I'm game. I love it. We do need to chat around the water cooler because there is a lot going on and it can be so stressful for us, right? So for those of you who haven't dialed in and listened to us on the SalesSheros podcast, Angie and I are both in different industries. We're in sales. We have collective 60 years of experience. I know, look how young we look. So if you're not looking at the video, you'll have to go find us so you can see the video. But we wanted to just chat because we are in different industries, we're still feeling the effects of corporate layoffs, and of like the challenges that come along with working in the world and having the outside stresses stress us out. Right. So
yeah, 100%. I don't know about you, but I'm getting a lot of calls from colleagues. So let's talk. I know we have a few topics today, but let's start with the first one. Corporate layoffs. Like every time I get on and start reading the news, another company has laid off 10,000 people, 4,000 people, 2,000 people. And I don't know if your LinkedIn's blowing up, but everyone's open for work, it seems like. So it's kind of a little concerning. Why are all these corporations laying everybody off? What's going on?
Yeah, I think it's really important as a sales rep to build strong communication with your management and to build strong communication with your team, your corporate team, so that we can't always be prepared and companies can't always prepare us, but kind of being dialed in, right? Angie and I did a whole episode on networking. It would be a good one to go back and listen to around this topic, because a piece of having less worry when you are in a corporate position is having knowledge from higher ups as to what's going on in your company. So, making sure that you are networking and staying connected to the decision makers in your company, staying informed about industry trends. Another one that would be another good one to reference back is our mindset episode that we did, because it can get stressful. We can get caught in the stress and the worry, and then we can be less proactive in our sales job, our career, right? Which is
it's
helping
very
our clients.
distracting.
It's very distracting. Yes.
Yeah.
Agreed.
I think that's what I'm facing too right now with a lot of people on the tech side of sales is a lot of these tech companies are laying people off. Obviously, nobody knows the true reason why they're laying them off. Is it an election year? Are they trying to streamline for acquisitions? Are they just trying to fix their bottom line before this next year happens? Like, there could be a multitude of reasons. And at the end of the day, if you're in corporate, you are subject to losing your job at a moment's notice. And they always do not have, we live in an at-will state. They can let us go at any time. They don't really honestly owe us a reason for anything. And so I think that's been probably one of the most concerning topics when I'm out in the field that people are talking about are all these layoffs and then what we can do to fix that. So yeah, I think you're spot on. Networking has to be one of the number one things that you have to know in your soul, that if you were laid off tomorrow, do you have enough resources or people that you trust to call up and say, hey, you know my value. I'm looking for work because I'm out the door. Like, they let me go. You know what I mean? So I think you're spot on with the networking piece of that, because that's how you're going to get a job quicker. And I'm older, right? Like, we're older people. If I got laid off tomorrow, I'm kind of concerned about, am I too old for these younger folks coming in, and are they going to pick them over me? I have the longevity and the experience, but they're younger, whippersnappers. So it's like, you know what I mean? That's a huge concern I think people have too. So I think if you're in corporate sales, making sure that you're proactively communicating with your management team is helpful, because they can hopefully you can get an upside if you are on the chopping block.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, and I think, speaking to that, because you're talking about ageism, I'm 52. So I fully get that. A lot of people that come into my industry, one big person that I sell to, it's more consulting than sales. This one avenue of how I drive my business is through the architect and design community. A lot of designers are younger, so there is this idea that maybe they would relate better to a younger sales rep. So that's very real. I think that's a real concern. And so thank you, one, for bringing that up. And I will, in speaking to that, I just had a conversation with a friend who's making a pivot to a new company after 26 years of being with the company that she is with. Yes. And
That's ballsy. Let's give a shout out to that, because that's gutsy right there.
And speaking to ageism, she's 10 years older than me. And so we were having this conversation today that so often, and I just want to remind all of you women out there listening to this, that so often we don't quantify our intellectual properties. And as we age in our career, we are worth a higher dollar volume because we have a PhD, in essence, in our field. And so staying relevant is important. I just say that because I think that sometimes we get caught and dismiss that as it not being as valuable for a corporation, but in fact, it actually is equally or more valuable, right?
And I think that's a great point, because if you really were to, if you were to stop for a second and had the time to list out every single thing you know about your industry, about your job, like if you started like listing just starting at one, right? From calling to forecasting, to meeting with people, to putting quotes together, like all of the things, negotiation, closing, if you start listing all of that skill set that you have, a lot of people I ask or come to me and they're like, I don't know what to put on my resume. Start listing what you know how to do.
Yeah.
Because we do have that intellectual skill set property. And that is I never looked at it like that before. I'm glad you brought that up, because I've never thought, when I'm discouraged, I never thought like, oh, actually, wait, I do know stuff. Right.
Right. Because we start to look at the things that are deficits for us as opposed to the things that are powerful and impactful. And then resilience. I think that's another great thing to bring into this like change and shift in the market, because I brought up the fact that we work in different industries. We're both facing this, right? I've had design firms that have had pretty massive layoffs. And because I work in commercial building, I sell products to the commercial building space. We hear all this conversation and communication about layoffs with the people that are doing the work in that field, layoffs because we need less product, right? Because we've had pivots, changes. So resilience is really important. Looking at maybe different facets of where you can draw your business in your territory. I mean, like if you're someone that in my field was doing heavy corporate tenant improvement work, a lot of our buildings have emptied out. I have to pivot the way I'm thinking and who I'm selling to, right? Maybe I need to bring in education a little bit more, municipalities. I have to look at kind of where work is happening, right? Like government segments are still buying. So is that a place that I put a little bit more of my energy and shift focus? So I think resilience is really important. And then also this is something that I have worked in commercial flooring mostly, but I have also done 2 stints in my career where I've had to make a pivot for my own choice. Neither of these were layoffs. They were choices to step away from a company that didn't feel aligned for me 2 different times. And I pivoted into medical sales as opposed to staying in the industry because I was waiting for the right company to open a door for me in the flooring industry. I prefer it. I like it better. I have more knowledge there. It's a more comfortable sell for me. But I have done 2 stints in medical device and pharmaceutical sales. And even though I didn't love it, it was a means of supporting where we were at in our life, right? Making mortgage payments and still continuing my career, staying relevant. So I think that also being resilient and making a choice to sometimes maybe pivot out of what you're doing if it's necessary. Like we had a downturn in our economy when I pivoted to one of the medical device sales, because there's sales happening there. I mean, people are sick, right? Like, I mean,
Yeah.
Unfortunately, and I didn't necessarily love capitalizing off of that, but it was necessary for me to provide an income for my family. So I think you have to be resilient at times. Maybe you have to step into something that you won't necessarily love, but if it's a way and a means to get to the next thing, then by all means think about it.
And that's a great point. Yeah, that's a great point, because for anyone out there that's in corporate and concerned about layoffs, we're there with you. We literally are there with you, and it can happen at any minute, and it can happen without any justifiable reason. They don't owe us a reason, although we like to have a reason and then fix it and resolve it. And so I think, to your resilient point, that comes back to, we're always here to arm our sales sheros with what is helpful in hard situations. And I think resilience is the key. Sticking to our network is the key. I think also you touch on a little bit is making sure that you do know industry trends and you're exploring any alternatives around the market. To your point, is this the time that maybe I should be shifting? Should I not be looking back into this industry? Obviously, don't go quit your job and go unless that's what you want to do. I'm just saying, if in the tech world, rumors are always happening about rifts and layoffs. So sometimes we do get a little bit of a heads up. You never know who's going to go, but you kind of hear like, oh, we're looking to acquire. They're going to make some changes. So if you're ever in that position to have a little bit of info, a heads up, check your market trends, check the industry. See, is this a sustainable business that I need to be part of for my family? And so I think that's a good point. And resilience is hard to learn how to do it consistently. But I think pivoting, I think we've all been there when we're like, dang it. But I think at this point, we're spot on. Corporate layoffs are scary. And I think, arming them with the tips that we're giving them today is really helpful, which kind of leads into what happens if you do get let go, right? I know that all over social media, a lot of people now are recording their HR calls of them being laid off. And they're very challenging, and they're asking all the right questions. Like, is this my performance? Is this related to what I was hired to do for you at the company? So I think, I would love to, I think this is a topic where some people like the fact that they're recording and some people don't like the fact that they're recording. And I think you can have a little bit of both. I don't think that there needs to be one way over another. But ultimately, I think we definitely should chat about, how do you feel about recording, your call if you were getting a call from HR? Like, is that something that you personally would do?
I wouldn't. I personally wouldn't. I mean, that may be offensive to someone, and I'm certainly not saying that you shouldn't. I'm just saying that I wouldn't. And I think that I feel that way. I feel like sometimes we're so caught in like litigious, right? Like, if someone doesn't have room for me and they're wanting me to transition out, I don't really want to be there. Like, and I'm not really of the adage unless there's a really viable reason to sue a company. Like, that's just not in my DNA. Personally.
Well, and if there's a toxic situation that you've had to deal with, documenting it down, and I could see recording that for a longer purpose. I agree with you on that one. I've never also recorded any layoffs that I've had or changes in my career. I think to your point, personally, I don't condone or support, like, I'm not any part of all of that out in the social media world. So please don't slam us with all of your hate mail. But I do think it's personal to the people. And I think I guess the question I would have for all the people considering recording, because I do think corporate companies need to change. They need to change how they're handling their employees. I think there needs to be a restructure of HR and how they value the employee. I do agree with that. Yes. And if you're just a number that they're going to get you on the call and say, you're out the door, we're going to blame it on X, Y, and Z, bye. That makes no sense. And you can question it, as you should. But then at the end of the day, I'm an at-will company. That is their legal right to do that to me. And I don't have to understand it from a legal perspective. I don't like it. And I may not be able to keep my lights on, but there's nothing I can do about that. And then to your point, if I'm going to record something to use it later, I don't want to go back there. So what am I fighting for?
Right.
In my
That's
opinion,
how
this
I
is
feel.
my personal
Too.
opinion.
Same. I have the same feeling about that, right? I think it's important. I think you can also document a lot
Yeah.
by taking notes. Like, I mean, if you're seeking clarification, ask really good open-ended questions and take notes as you're going through. And I think every situation is different, right? So I just want to, disclaimer that, like, I can't speak directly to your situation. If you're feeling like you need to be recording yourself, then by all means use your judgment and do what you need to do. That's just
Absolutely.
not something that I feel like I would personally do. And I happen to be, well, the other thing too is I also work for a company and I love my HR manager. Like, I mean, I wouldn't record her because I think it'd be rude. Like, I think she's fabulous. And if she had to let me go for some reason, sad for me, but I hope that I get to continue a relationship with her in my life because I think she's a cool human being, right? Like, I mean, so there's like, I know a lot of people. Like, I'm lucky. I know a lot of people are afraid of HR, but I actually happen to love my company and love our HR department. So it's like, I don't really feel that. I'm not afraid of her.
And bigger corporate companies. I mean, I'm now part of a very large corporate company, so I probably am an employee number, right? There's so many employees globally. And so as much as I would love to get connected to the people in every aspect of the company, it's just not possible. So I probably would be the one that's the number that got called and had somebody on there that I've never talked to before. And I'd be like, what? I've been trying so hard. And all of those are completely valid, right? And I get that for sure. But yeah, I think the recording, unless I already had some documentating issues that I needed this to validate what I was trying to do going forward, I don't think I probably would do that either. And then the other question is, we're in a digital age. Everything's out there in the world now. So, okay, are we blasting it out there to change the behavior of the corporate companies? Like, I could totally see that. Like, I'm blasting this out there. I'm starting a petition. Let's get as many people on the bandwagon to change how corporate companies are allowed to let people go. Sign me up. I'm part of that tribe, because I do think that it's very insensitive. But if it's blasting to blast, my old boss used to say, like, are you bitching for recreation or are you bitching for sport? Like what are you complaining about? Right? Like, and you have to decide which road you're on and what is your ultimate outcome? Some people, it's great. They can get another job with it. We like people that stand up for themselves. Awesome. Great. Some people are like, wow, that's really damaging to your personal brand, because anytime a corporate company is going to ask you to do something you don't want to do, you're going to blast us. Like, brand management is huge for not just for employees, but like for companies. Right. So I think that's also a trick. Well, let's give our SalesSheros some kind of tips on what our opinion is about what they can do maybe instead of.
Yeah, I would just say seek clarification, document, be ready if it were to happen. I think bigger than anything, and it's going to lead into what we're going to say next and talk about next, is like really having a backup plan. And you hear a lot of people say, that I have personally heard a lot of influencers say, if you have a backup plan, you won't go 100% on your initial plan. I don't necessarily agree with that, because I feel like it's smart to have a backup plan, because the first plan doesn't always work. And sometimes it's in our control and sometimes it is not in our control. I mean, you could have a company that you're working for that you think is solid and may look really great on paper, and they go out of business. I mean, those things happen. So I feel like best action step, handle things professionally, get clarifying questions answered, have direct communication. Is there anything I could have done differently? Was there a way to avoid this? I mean, I think that's a great question to ask if you are getting laid off, especially if you aren't completely prepared for it. Like, is there something I could have done differently in this circumstance to retain my employment here? I think that's a really great question. And then be quiet and listen and take notes, so that, one, if you have some recourse you need to take, great. But two, also, as you're moving into your next adventure, your next thing, your next income opportunity, then you know what you maybe could have adjusted if there was something that you possibly could have adjusted, right?
Yeah, pivoting. That's a great time to pivot. I know. I think that's a great one. Definitely. Also, I think from a recording perspective, always being mindful of company policies. I know that even if you're getting laid off and you're out the door, you're still legally obligated to follow company policy until the end of that call, or when their termination date is. So I think adhering to company policies, any legal regulations regarding privacy and consent, being the digital age again, yes, it's so easy for us to put it out there, but the backlash to you could cost you financially implications if they were so upset that they wanted to just sue you for a defamation or anything. Just prepare yourself, protect yourself, right? So I think definitely making sure if you do think you're getting, if you see that appointment's getting on your calendar at 3:00 and it's 8 a.m., maybe start looking through your T's and C's of your contract just to make sure that you're not doing anything to, defamate the company because of the fact that they do have the financial means to do something from a legal perspective. Most companies do. And I've known companies to do things just out of spite, not out of principle. They'll come after people just out of spite. So yeah, I think that definitely is another tip for our Sheros out there on kind of the recording HR topic.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so interesting, the shift, right, to digital and how that's affecting both sides, corporate and us as individuals. Yeah, it's really interesting.
And I wonder if that's also an age thing too. I would love to actually do a poll. Maybe we should do this for our sales Sheros in the second half of their chapters in their sales careers, or the folks in the first half of their chapters. And what is that like? Because every time I worked, I didn't have something to record every time my boss let me go, or, whatever the case is. I didn't have a means to record it other than going home and going, I can't believe it, and telling all my friends or whatever, like, this is what just happened around the water cooler. And so now we have the microphone at the ready. Like people at a stop sign have their microphones at the ready. What is your purpose? That's what I even try to remember with myself. What is my purpose of recording you in your conversation so that I can chime in to have an opinion about something? Like, I feel like our society needs to just, again, take a chill pill on this one. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree. I would agree with that. Like, get a little more human.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah. And so being more human is, in a situation like this, I think you brought up a very great point, and that's developing a backup plan. I'm not saying I'm in corporate. I'm not saying I'm not looking for another job, because I am not. I love my job. I love what I'm doing. I love where I'm at in my career right this moment. But I do have backup financial plans for my family or other revenues of income coming in should anything happen to my corporate job, because it can be taken from me at any moment. So what do you think about backup plans? I mean, you brought that up earlier. How can we arm our Sheros with some advice on backup plans?
Yeah, I mean, I would say, one, go back and listen to our entire episode on finance with a woman who has a master's in finance. That's a great one to reference, because I have operated in a place where I don't have emergency savings. I have operated in a space where I was overextended with mortgage and auto payments and all the things. And although we can carry that, we are good at that in the US. We are consumer society, right? I think it's important to get smart about that as women, and to really take your finances in your own hands and create space for yourself where you cut something to implement putting something away for a rainy day. I think that's really important. So that would be one thing that I feel really strongly about, because I haven't always operated in that space. And when you aren't operating in that space, and I can speak directly to this, because when I'm not operating in that space where I feel comfortable that I'll be able to carry myself for a bit alone, solo, without my husband's help, that I will be able to carry myself for a little bit, then I'm not as confident, which affects my income. Like, confidence, clarity, and consistency are the 3 C's in sales that make you the best, most dynamic representative of helping your clients, is being confident, consistent, and being really clear on your mission. And if you've got a bunch of financial mess, you are not going to be able to be the strongest in the 3 C's. And so I just think that that's really powerful. And if you don't know how to do that, if you don't know how to get if you don't make enough in your corporate sales career currently, maybe you take on an extra avenue of income. Maybe if there's like think about that differently. Like maybe you create a digital course around your knowledge that you can help other people with. Maybe you pick up a product that you love and you sell that product on the side in MLM or in affiliate marketing, like either.
Right.
Like I don't have a positive or a negative about either. I mean,
Right.
if you, we have made a lot of income in the network marketing space. It isn't the right avenue for me to sell in currently in my life because there are some value propositions there that aren't aligned with where I am personally. But it is it can be an incredibly great way to make an income, full-time, part-time.
Right.
I mean, we've made full-time corporate income in that industry. So it's very viable if you're with the right company and you are with a company that has integrity and a good plan. There are bad companies out there, just like there are bad corporations out there.
That's true. That's absolutely true. And I went from a 2-income household and to a single income household. And so I went for over a decade with 2 incomes, and then I went, oh crap, now it's just my own income. And so making that financial shift, I did not prepare myself financially for that shift, going from 2 to 1. So then when that shift happened, I really had to dive into what are my finances and how does my corporate job, that's the main bread and butter of my revenue coming into me, my household, how can I keep that coming in and where am I allocating it? So you're right. Go back and listen. If you've not checked out our finance with Amy Keeney, that one hit it spot on for me. But I think going forward, I'm not as distracted at my corporate job, which is yielding me the most revenue for my family because I got my finances in order. But I was like that, where out of the gate, the first year I was like, oh my gosh, I have all this stuff. And then my job, I wasn't focusing and I wasn't as successful. And I couldn't figure out why am I not closing all these deals? Why am I not making these relationships? What's going on? And then when I look back now to 3 years ago, I was super distracted. So I can see your point of aligning those and making that, diversifying where your funds are to be prepared for a backup plan should your main source of revenue income change. I think that's definitely, I lead by example on that one for sure.
Yeah. And there's all kinds of ways. I mean, there are so many different platforms of earning income. I mean, you could flip furniture, you can flip clothing. Mm-hmm. I mean, you can sell on all these free platforms. I mean, you could sell on the Facebook marketplace. I mean, you could be someone who loves to secondhand and you buy vintage shoes and you sell. I mean, it really, literally, we live in a world where, I mean, you can drive Uber, you can drive Lyft, you can, Grubhub. I mean, you can shop for
There's
Walmart.
So many things. There's so many things around your schedule too. I know a lot of people, if they have one job and some kids and they're trying to make it work, there's always going to be some sort of way that if you're open to finding it out. I know we have a lot of negative Nancy's out there with like, no, I just cannot, no matter what happens. It's like when you get past that mentality, there always will be a way for you to figure out how to get just a little bit more of your finances, even if it's just covering the light bill. Right. Yeah. And I think that's where the younger generation has been rock stars because they've been proving to some of us oldies but goodies, like we can get out there and we're going to get out there and we're not going to settle for this and we're going to keep powering through and we're going to keep going. And I love that generation for that because they're reminding me like, why am I out here complaining? Let's just go make it happen. Go get that second, third, fourth job. Or, I wrote a paper on this and I'm going to put it out there and see if anybody wants to publish it. I think to your point, exploring all of your sales techniques and with digital marketing out there, customer service, anyone, if you really wanted to have some money coming in, you can, but you have to put the work in. I don't know what world you can just sit on your laurels and just get paid. I mean, maybe trust fund kids. I don't know, maybe. But for the majority of the people in my tribe, in my circle, you have to put the work in and to create the backup plan. And so, yeah, I think we're spot on with that, with sharing that with them.
Yeah. Yeah. So I would just say, go ahead.
No, I was just going to segue into networking, how you brought that up earlier.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, because you talk about network marketing, multi-level marketing. I mean, that's networking. I mean, I just watched a few leaders from another company make a pivot and bring a team of 100 over in a matter of probably 20 minutes. I mean, that's networking at its finest. right?
Right.
And we need to be doing that in our corporate careers as well, like networking with the people that can drive revenue based on less the driving revenue and more the service to those people, right? Because those leaders that I referenced are service driven leaders. They're people that lead a team that they've been successful leading because they invest in the team and they invest in the time. And so networking is huge. I mean, networking in your own industry, knowing who the leaders are and the managers are in other companies. Like I know who I would go asking. I know in my industry who I would work for and who I wouldn't work for. And so I know the players and the places that I would put myself, because that's just a smart thing to do. One, because I can refer to them if I don't have what they have. And two, if something were to happen, then I know those people and that's an easier conversation to have. Hey, if anything comes up and you need someone in your space, I'm available, right? Like that's networking. Like ask, because you can ask for help when you need it if you have built the network. It's a little greedy, it's a little needy to ask when you haven't built the network, when you're not connected to personally. Yeah, like, hey, I need a job. Well, who are you?
I connected with you on LinkedIn because I met you at an event 3 years ago. But by the way, can you give me a reference for this job? I mean, I don't know. Everyone's using LinkedIn for asking for jobs. And I definitely always tell everyone, if we are connected, then stay communicating with me because I always will hear about something. And people that listen to this that know me know that I am a connector. Like I am able to go, oh, you need this? Let's go here, right? And that's years of me building my network to where I'm at, not even just in cybersecurity, but in other avenues as well, to help people get where they need to go. And I think that, yeah, this is why I love talking to you about stuff like this, is because we are so aligned. But I've worked my network alongside you for years and watched yours grow, watched mine grow, to where when we've had company shifts, we panicked for a second and then we're like, okay, let's go. Like, who are we going to call? And then you just start getting the word out to trustworthy people. And I think that strong professional network is key. I don't care what you're selling. And you brought up the MLM piece. Those team members that took their team of 100 and plus and pivoted to another company seamlessly because all the people on their team trusted them, believed in them, and was happy to stay connected to them, right? And they almost didn't even have to miss a beat from a financial perspective because they know how to take their company from here and what they're going to say, what they're going to sell, and go over here, because they're not always just selling in MLM. It's that service that you said, what we talked about.
Yeah, I think we can take notes from that in corporate sales.
100%.
Honestly, I think that you and I have learned a lot because of that industry that transfers really beautifully into us being better service providers in what we do in corporate.
I love it. I am so jazzed. We don't get to go around the water cooler very often. So every now and then, SalesSheros, we are going to do an episode where we are just around the water cooler talking about what's going on in the world today. But this has been awesome. This one, I appreciate you sharing all your insight with me, LaDonna.
Yeah, I appreciate that we get to be here together on here. So thanks, Angie. You're a beautiful soul, and I am so thankful for your friendship and that we're doing this together. And for all of you SalesSheros out there, connect with us on our Instagram, find us on TikTok, share it out with your friends that could benefit, and we will catch you on the next episode of SalesSheros. And we're really championing you to be a success. Have a great day.